So I kind of left off at the beginning of St. Michael's, and for me, I had no idea in my life at that time what an impact that St. Michael's Catholic Church was about to have on me and my family and the rest of my life. I was working full time. I had two small children, and I didn't have any kind of experience dealing with people other than the world that I lived in. So construction workers, bosses, and family. We had a couple of close friends that we went out and had dinner with, but my life was getting ready to dramatically change because for the first time I was trying to be around a group of people that were very different than what I was. I came from a very poor setting, and we never had a lot of money, and we had years that were good and bad, and we seemed to always struggle financially. And for me, for the first time, I was around a large group of people who were wealthy. And in my mind, if you were wealthy, then that means that you were happy, because I couldn't possibly understand how if you had more money than you knew what to do with, how you couldn't be happy, because in my mind, wealth, money meant happiness. And I soon found out that it didn't matter how much money you had, that people were people, that people struggled in their lives to make sense of what they were doing, and it had very little to do with how much money you had, but more it had to do with what you thought the world should be and how you fit into that world. So this beginning process of learning so many different things just by interacting with groups of people I had never come in contact with. The idea that in a church, whether you're a doctor or a lawyer or a construction worker, you all sit together, you all pray together, you're all part of a community that's bigger than you are, and that somehow you all belong and somehow you're all equal, at least for an hour a week when you gather. You're there to pray, you're there to worship, but most importantly, you're there to be fed and to be sent back out into the world. So this hour out of my week, which turned into a lot more than an hour, because immediately I started to get involved in the church, which surprised my wife because I wasn't the most social person in the world. I preferred to be at home, and I certainly preferred to be alone more than I liked to be in public. So the church was formed, and because it was a brand new church, with the idea that everyone that joined the church needed to be involved. So the foundation started from the very beginning. If you come here to St. Michael's, then the expectation was you were going to do something, whether that meant give $1 a year because you were married and had 3 jobs and 6 kids, or whether it meant that you were retired and you had a couple hours a week that you could give doing something for either the community itself or for the community that surrounded us. So immediately, from the very foundation of the church, there was this call to be involved, to be active, and most importantly, to take ownership of this new church. We had to literally move all of the things for each Sunday worship in backs of cars. So we literally packed up, went to Short Pump Middle, went to Good Shepherd Church, and we did our services out of Tupperware. We moved things, we gathered things, and there was this sense of almost being a renegade, in the sense that we were this new community on wheels. And so we did baptisms in different places, and we bought this huge bowl that we started baptizing babies in, and we carried it around. And so when there was a baptism, you haven't lived your life yet if you haven't seen Father John baptize a baby, because it was such a joyful occasion. People lit up like Christmas trees because somehow he made it seem so special that we were a young community and we had a lot of kids, and so we were baptizing like crazy all the time. I'm sure we averaged over 300 babies a year in those first 10 years that we were formed as a community. It was a vibrant community. The older folks, like I said before, were there because they wanted to be there. And everyone had this sense of we were about to be part of something that could have an impact on the world. And so it felt special. It felt different. But the common thing that we all had was that we were all Catholic. We all knew what being Catholic meant, in the sense of that we had this long history and this long tradition of being part of something. So shortly after the community was formed, I got involved in different things, and one of them was in a leadership position on parish council. And the joke at parish council was the folks that would come to the parish council would bet on how long I would last at a meeting, because I had a hot temper, and when people said things that I disagreed with, I would usually challenge them, and then when they continued to be difficult in my mind, I would just leave. So for the early years of the church, I never spent more than 10 or 15 minutes at any meeting because I would get upset, angry, disappointed, and storm out. And so it was a constant joke in the early days about how long I would last. Asked me to do something, I was fine. Asked me to hammer something, it was great. We were such a young church, we knew we were getting ready to build. And so from 1992 to 1996, it was all about building the first building. So it was exciting again. I was exposed to architects and engineers and the county's commercial codes and this, that, and the other. It was so fun to be part of something that you know you were building for the future. Father John used to say all the time, when you build a church, it lasts forever. The buildings last a long time. And so you're part of something where you're laying a foundation for generations and generations to come. So I think we got a sense of that. I think we knew that we were part of something. The church grew crazy in the beginning because it was a vibrant place. It was a place where things were happening. And for the most part, it was a place where people were happy. If you didn't like coming to St. Michael's, you didn't come. So nobody was standing at the door with a shotgun, making sure that you stayed week in and week out. In fact, it was the opposite. If this was the right place for you, please stay. Please get involved as fast as you can. The other theme that was really clear early on was that this place was going to be a place of hospitality, that we were going to be a place that welcomed everybody. And it sounds so easy to do that and to say that, but in reality, it's a lot harder to do because everyone means everyone. It means the people who are difficult, it means the people who are poor, it means the people who are wealthy, it means the people that are struggling in their own lives. So this community was, for at least an hour a week, we're going to open the doors, and Father John used to say all the time, here comes everybody. And when he said everybody, he meant saints and sinners. And he would say that every time he got a chance to, and then he would ask the question, which one are you today? Are you one of the saints of the church today, or are you one of the sinners? Then he would follow that by saying all are welcomed. So we got an early sense in those younger days of what church could be. We got excited about the different impacts that we could do. And it became crystal clear to me that this place was something different simply because of the amount of people that came. They were so gifted, and their giftedness was unbelievable. And their willingness to share their gifts with the community and with the community outside of St. Michael's was tremendous. We immediately started making an impact on a lot of different things in our community in a lot of different ways. So that question that was asked over and over again, if we cease to exist tomorrow, would anybody notice? Amen.